happened. Yesterday, a friend of mine showed up and he said, Alec, would you help me sight my rifle? Okay, I was busy, but okay, we went up to the back and got the shooting bench out, my portable shooting bench, which Kevin will give you a link to it. And I got all set up, and I didn't realize it was a shotgun. Whatever, that's fine. Here in Ontario, many areas are shotgun only for deer hunting. We set up the target, 25 yards, boom, got it. Nice shot. Go back to 75 yards, boom, got it. Nice shot, 2 inches off. I made a very minor adjustment on his scope, and then we went to 100 yards, and boom, nice shot. So, 3 or 4 shots. I've talked to you before about sighting in your rifle. You don't have to take a box of cartridges out to sight in a rifle, unless there's something wrong with it. You take 6 cartridges and you ought to have your rifle dead on, 6 shots. Anyway, I said, okay, let me take a shot. Oh, yeah. So I sat down at the shooting bench, all sighted in. The target was really good, no problem. That's like this, about like this. All ready to shoot. Boom. Oh. It's been probably 40 years since I had a scope bite or scope eye. Different people call it different things, but it's a very distinctive. You can see it there now. And I'm sure Kevin's zooming in. He thinks it's quite funny. Yeah. This is a head. I've had a headache for 2 days. But anyway, I got a scope bite. The scope, and what a scope bite is, very simply, the recoil from the gun obviously drives the gun this way, and your head is here. Yeah. Now, some people say, oh, you got the scope mounted too close to your eye. That may well be. And I suggested to my friend that he move it ahead just an inch. And that may well be. That can be a contributing factor. But we shot several times and it wasn't a problem. So that's not a big deal. No, I'm sorry, guys. If you get a scope bite, and any hunter, any person who shoots on a regular basis, eventually is going to get a scope bite, or they're going to see one, for sure. They're very distinctive. Half crescent on the upper eyebrow, on the actual brow up in here. So you'll see them. They happen. I'm sorry. I'd like to be able to agree with you and say it's the equipment, but it isn't. It's stupidity. Yeah, I'm admitting it right here. Now you heard it. Okay, this is a short video. I'm not going to repeat it. But it's plain stupidity. You see, what happens is, and this is usually just a problem when you're shooting on a bench. Because when you're shooting on a bench, the rifle is held here, and you tend to creep up on the scope a little bit like this. You tend to get a little bit closer. Okay. Also, the second contributing factor is that when I'm trying to sight a rifle in, I try to eliminate any influence from me. So I try to get the rifle. This is a special stand I have. I clamp the rifle right in it and hold it. And I try to get the rifle so there's no influence from me, no shaking, no pulling, no nothing. So I clamp the rifle in there very, very firmly. I hold it very firmly. I get it dead on the target or whatever point I'm trying to shoot. And then I can gently squeeze the trigger and there's no influence. There's no pull. There's no flinch. There's nothing at all. The rifle shoots and it shoots straight, hits the target. Got nothing to do with me, you see. So, and that's a problem when you're shooting on a bench because you tend to let the rifle stay. And look right here. Look right here, Kevin. You see that? Right there. So you shoot, you squeeze gently. But what happens? You see that? That's 2 inches. The rifle goes back 2 inches. Yeah. So it's not the rifle. It's not the scope. Maybe slight contributing factors. But the problem is I didn't have it on my shoulder. If it had been on my shoulder like this, and I was back even an inch from the scope, wouldn't have happened. So that's the real secret. Admit it, guys. If it happens to you, you don't have to admit it to anybody except yourself. But if you do get a scope bite, scope cut, different places have different names for it, then just admit it to yourself quietly. So stupid. And that's invariably, I think you'll find that's what it was. You probably didn't do it intentionally. You may not even have noticed, but you did not have the butt of the gun firmly against your shoulder to stop the gun moving backwards. Or that's what it is. Anyway, it was pretty exciting experience. And just to add a little bit of color, it bleeds like the devil. This is your head. There's no fat there. Well, maybe Kevin has a bit of fat in his head. There's no fat here on the bone. So in this particular case, the scope did not have a cover like this on it. It was just an open scope, and it drove right in. It actually drove right to the bone. It was quite serious, quite a serious cut. When I got back to the house, Diana, who was a nurse, was pretty upset about it. She didn't suggest we go to the hospital, but normally I would suggest you do that. If you go to the hospital, not only is it time involved, but they're almost certainly going to say you should have a couple of stitches. Yeah, and I didn't want that. So we used a couple of those little adhesive things, I forget what they're called, to tie the thing closed overnight. Fortunately, even at my advanced years, I heal pretty quickly, and this morning it's much, much better. I'm going to have a scar, but scars are good. Stories. My grandchildren love it when I show them a scar and I tell them a story. Sometimes I get mixed up and I forget the story that goes with each scar. That's another time. Anyway, there you go, guys. Scope bite. Try to avoid it. Easy to avoid. Don't be stupid. Yeah. All right. I got some other good videos coming up on rifles and shooting and so on. It's the time of year, and I love doing this. We'll talk to you real soon. ALEC Peirce at the Ranch, feeling stupid.